Friends, tonight, we begin in a place where time smells of damp ash. The fog is thick as watery porridge, and hope hides under the bed. This isn't the London of glamorous detective stories, nor the place where nobles sip tea in splendid gardens. This is your London, a place where surviving the night is enough to be called a success. Do you think you could survive in Victorian times? Honestly, you probably couldn't. Not because you're weak, but because this place has no intention of making anything easy for anyone. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I'm doing here. And leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from and what time it is. I'm always curious about sleepless nights around the world. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe switch on a fan for some gentle white noise. And let's start tonight's journey. You wake up. The first smell that hits you isn't coffee, not toasted bread. It's a mix of the dampness built up over the night, of bodies breathing together in a cramped space, and something like mold blended with old dishwater. You're not in a bed, but in a corner of one, shared with two others, and a thin blanket that hasn't seen soap since the Crimean War. Someone's foot is draped over your shoulder. One of your hands touches the icy floor. You turn your head and come face to face with a sight all too common in Victorian life, the bare, mud-caked foot of a relative. No bedsheets. No proper pillow. Your so-called pillow is stuffed with straw and seems to contain an old sock. Nobody remembers who it belonged to, and nobody wants to claim it. The ceiling drips, one drop at a time, as if time itself is leaking. Your room has no window, just a faint sliver of light seeping through a grimy, smoke-stained pane, carrying the sounds of clattering horse carts, street vendors' cries, and the dry cough of someone 3 houses down. No one says good morning, because no one feels it's morning. You pull the old blanket over your face. The stale smell of damp wool, sweat, and last winter's hearth ash jolts you fully awake. A bed, no. This is the room, the only one, and everyone lives here. You, your brother, your mother, your friend. He's a night renter, and a rat. Not a house mouse, a big rat. The kind that might demand a share of breakfast if you're not quick. Everyone in the room knows each other, and they're used to the creak of the floorboards when someone shifts. You know where it leaks, where the draft sneaks in, and the crack in the wall where, one night, you heard tapping from the other side. Not knocking, tapping, rhythmic. In the corner is a chair. You wish you could call it something else. But no, it's the toilet, the bathtub, the wash basin, and the emergency backup fire extinguisher if the oil lamp tips over. People try not to look at it in the morning, but the smell has no such restraint. You've learned to breathe through your mouth when you wake, a vital survival skill, because inhaling through your nose would make you retch, and you don't want to retch into that bucket. It's bad enough. Footsteps begin to echo through the house. The flats above you seem to be stirring too. You hear someone trip on the stairs, curse, then cough heavily. These stairs are where many wake up for the last time. You sit up carefully. The blanket slips off, and the air hits your skin like a wet slap. You throw on a scrap of cloth called a shirt. Really, it's an old coat, cut from someone's dress who lived here before, probably evicted for owing bucket money. You sit there, on the bed, in the thin fog inside the room. Outside, it's thicker, you know it. You think, maybe today's the day you'll find bread, or work, or avoid slipping into a ditch of horse dung. Your feet still haven't found your shoes. You suspect the rat might be napping in them. You shake your head, give a small laugh, not because it's funny, but because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. On the ceiling, the water keeps dripping. One drop, then another. You whisper. Another day. You stand. The room's door opens. The footsteps of the neighbor tenant clomp down the stairs. A heavy cough rises from below. Dust in the air forms a hazy veil before your eyes. You glance back at the room one last time, and know that if you make it back tonight, whole and breathing, that will be a stroke of luck. You leave the house. A new day begins in the city of fog and corpses. And you're still alive. Victorian life surviving the Middle Ages. You haven't fully stepped out of the house when you hear a creak behind you. Something gets kicked. Lightly but enough to make you pause. You turn your head, looking toward the corner of the room where the bucket still stands, silent as an unnamed member of the household. Its smell is so familiar that you only notice it when it's not there. Right now, it's very much there, and very distinct. You step toward it, not out of curiosity, but out of duty. Every morning, someone has to empty it. This morning, it's your turn. The iron handle is rusted, cold, and slimy. Inside is a murky liquid, a mixture you don't want to describe. Something's floating in it. You tell yourself it's paper or a scrap of cloth, definitely not a human tooth. Though you've seen that happen before. You walk down the hallway, carefully cradling the bucket, navigating the slanted, wet wooden stairs. Last time, the girl from the third floor slipped, spilling the bucket all over her dress. No one laughed. She cried, and her mother cursed because it was her only wearable dress. The backyard reeks of dampness. The waste pit is a hole lined with wooden planks, with a charcoal-written sign, "Please cover, after use." The lid is broken on one side. You tilt the bucket, pouring it in. The liquid splashes down with a gurgling sound. Familiar, but never pleasant. You replace the lid. Set the bucket upside down on a stone to dry. A cat darts over, sniffs, then slinks away. You wash your hands in the rainwater barrel by the door, no soap. Just water and sand. The cold water numbs your hands. You're not sure they're cleaner, but they're wet. And right now, that feels like a small luxury. Back in the room, almost everyone's awake. Your mother is tying her headscarf. A man you don't recognize is lacing his boots. And the girl with tangled hair from last night is picking at the matted strands. She looks up. You nod. No one needs greetings. In this house, "Good morning" is a phrase found only in books. You ask quietly, "Anything to eat?" Your mother points to the table. There's half a cracked, dry, rock-hard loaf of bread, with a fly perched beside it. You don't shoo it away. You sit, pinch off a small piece, and chew slowly, carefully, because your back teeth once swelled from eating spoiled salted fish. You sip water from the bucket by the door. It's slightly cloudy, smells of damp cloth, but it's cold and soothes your dry throat. A wheezy laugh breaks out. Aunt M, the oldest woman in the room, is watching you. He's eating like a king. You give a faint smile, not answering, because if you spoke the truth, you'd have to say kings don't eat moldy bread and cloudy water. Someone opens the door, letting in a gust of wind. A person leaves, leaving only a shadow and the sound of boot heels. You watch them go, then turn back, leaning against the wall, hands clutching your stomach. Not out of hunger, it's just grumbling. Not demanding food, but learning to live with not getting any. Downstairs, an argument erupts, a couple fighting again about money. Sleeping space, the shared bucket, even each other's breathing. There's a thud, a shout, then a child's cry. No one runs down. In this house, silence, would be the strange thing. You stand, head to the hallway. Your foot steps on a damp sock. You don't pick it up. No one picks up anything with an unclear owner. If you keep it, you're claimed as its owner. And if something happens, you can't deny it. You touch the stair railing, then pull back. It's slimy. Wiping your hand on your shirt. You take a breath and open the door to the street. Smoke, ash, and grease flood your nose. You start walking, not toward anywhere specific, just to not stay. You think about the bucket, how it stands there, silently taking everything no one wants to keep, how it's just an object but controls the household's schedule. Whoever empties the bucket is responsible, not because anyone demands it, but because everyone silently agrees it's so. You think, in that house, the bucket is the most real thing. It doesn't pretend. It doesn't deny. It doesn't judge anyone. And this morning, you were the one who emptied it. That means you're still strong enough, awake enough, and have enough legs to do it. And on a gloomy day like any other, that alone is a good start. You step out of the house when the sky is just bright enough to see faces, but not enough to see the road. The light is blocked by thick fog, mixed with the smell of ash, rusted iron, and something you don't want to guess. A faint breeze brushes your neck like cold fingernails, making you pull your collar tighter. It doesn't help. The cold here isn't in the air. It's in your bones. Seeping in from months ago, you walk onto the main street, where the ground isn't stone or dirt, but a muddy mix of horse dung, kitchen ash, garbage, and old rainwater. They call it the gutter, not because it's a real gutter, but because it's not clean enough to be called a road. You carefully avoid a grey, murky puddle with a film on top. Maybe it's bath water, maybe laundry water, maybe both. Nearby is a streak of mud with cartwheel tracks, straight as if drawn with a ruler. In it lies a lone shoe, ownerless. You don't ask what happened. You keep walking. On both sides are grey brick houses, their fronts wet as if sprayed with water. Not rain, just condensation from fog and smoke. Windows are patched with old newspapers, some with rags. A door creaks open slightly. You glance in and meet someone's eyes, staring back. No greeting, just a look. A coal seller pushes his cart past, hands blackened, teeth jagged. He shouts something you can't make out because a cough from behind drowns it out, a dry, rasping cough that sounds like it's tearing a throat apart. You tell yourself you haven't coughed this morning. A good sign. You keep moving, dodging piles of still warm horse dung. A sign. A cart passed recently. Something glints in one pile. A broken spone. Maybe a tin can lid. Once, you saw someone find a silver chain in a pile like that. Not today. You cross a small bridge over a sewage ditch. The bridge has no railing. Its wooden surface slick and slanted. You step slowly. Eyes down. Below, black water swirls, carrying something shapeless. Maybe a sack. Maybe someone. You don't stop. Behind you, footsteps grow louder. Early workers, straightgoers, job seekers, all move in silence. Only the squelch of mud and the clatter of metal from pushcarts breaking the quiet. An old woman sits at a street corner next to a basket of eggs, muddy, cracked, some with unwashed chicken blood. She says nothing, just stares. You meet her gaze. Then, look away. Not because you don't want to buy, but because you have nothing to trade. A boy, maybe 7, stands outside a bakery, eyes glued to the foggy glass. Inside, the baker stacks fresh loaves. You see steam rising. You see the boy's hand clutch his torn shirt. You say nothing. Neither does he. You turn into a left alley, where an old church stands. Its bell, often tolling for someone no longer alive. This morning, no bell, maybe no one's died yet, or no one's found the dead. That's a kind of hope. You sit on a stone step, back against the wall. The stone is cold, but smooth. The ground shows muddy footprints, some still wet. Someone slipped here recently. You look around. No one's fallen. Maybe they got up. Maybe not. You hear water dripping from the roof, drop by drop, like an uneven clock. Time here doesn't flow. It leaks. A middle-aged man passes by, pulling a wooden cart of old fabric. His eyes are sunken. Beard, unshaven. But his clothes are neat. You watch him for a while, wondering how do you manage that, not growing old, but staying tidy in poverty. You stand, leave the church, and head toward the small market. You know a new cart might come today. Maybe old bread, spoiled cheese, or fish heads, things people don't want, but you can get for next to nothing. The market grows crowded. Voices haggle, shout, laugh hoarsely. A sour smell of fermented cabbage wafts over. Nearby, a barrel of spoiled fish swarms with flies. The seller waves a piece of cardboard, shooing flies while calling out. You push toward a vegetable stall, picking up a few wilted cabbage leaves. The stall owner eyes you, raises a brow. You hold out a small, worn coin. Its king's face nearly gone. He nods. You wrap the leaves in newspaper and slip away, avoiding others' stares. A small victory. On the way back, the sky's brighter, but the fog remains thick. You pass the alley with the morning's puddle. Now it holds a wet shoe and a hat. No one's around. You quicken your pace. At the door, you knock lightly. A bolt slides back. Your mother appears, holding a basin of grey water up to her ankles. Her eyes meet yours for a second, then flick to the paper bundle. She says nothing, just nods. You step in, kick off your shoes, wipe your feet on an old rag. Inside, no one's coughing anymore. A good sign. The bucket's dry. Another sign. And you, though no cleaner, no fuller, are still intact. You sit, look out through the sliver of light at the door. Outside, the gutter still flows. The fog still clings. People still rush. But you've made it back. You sit in the house for only a few minutes before standing up again. Not because you want to go anywhere, but because staying makes you feel like you're wasting air, and air is scarce poor, or not. You shouldn't waste it. Outside, the fog is still hazy but slightly thinner. You step out, this time carrying a cloth bag with a wooden stick inside. It's your work tool, or at least something you carry to pretend you have work. You pass a row of damp houses, where the brick floors are always slick and the windows always shut. The musty smell of old rags rises from a backyard, letting you know you've reached the right place. This is the rag depot, where people bring scraps to beat, sort, dye, or sell by weight. No sign, no name needed. Everyone who comes here knows who they are. You knock 3 times. Shuffling footsteps sound inside. The door cracks open, and the boss peers out from under eyebrows, thick as tired caterpillars. He doesn't ask your name, just nods and steps back. You follow. No greetings. None needed. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of dye, sweat, and time. Another man sits beating rags on a large board. Each strike slaps the ears of anyone nearby. You pick a corner. Take off your coat. Tie a cloth around your forehead. And start. The rags are dumped out like trash. You pick through them. removing buttons, cutting threads, then beating them to soften. One piece reeks sharply as you lift it. You stop breathing through your nose. An old habit. Each strike marks a piece of the day passing. Your hands redden, then sting. The wooden handle is cracked, and once, it grazes you. Blood seeps out. Not much, but to you, it's a reminder you still have blood to bleed. The man beside you coughs. You don't look over. Not because you're callous, but because you're afraid you'll start coughing too. And you don't have the strength for that now. The boss returns near noon, handing you a piece of puffed rice cake and a coin. You take them, saying no thanks. He doesn't expect it. This relationship doesn't need courtesy, just mutual existence. You wash your hands in a bucket of water by the wall. It has a film on top. You don't look closely. Then you leave. The coin still clutched in your pocket. On the way back, you pass an old apothecary. Inside is an old doctor, rumored to have once cured the dead. In truth, he only draws blood and applies peppermint salve. But today, you have no blood to spare and no money for salve. You see a child sitting outside the shop. Nose are bleeding. Maybe they fell. Maybe someone pushed them. They don't cry. Just wipe the blood on their shirt and look at you. You bent down. Offer an old handkerchief. They take it, nod, and keep sitting there. You walk on, feeling no pity. You don't have the strength to pity everyone. Here, everyone hurts. It's just a matter of where and when. You take a shortcut home. The ground is mud and broken stones. A woman is arguing with a landlord. Her voice is sharp as vinegar. The landlord, fat and wearing a worn brocade coat, holds a thick debt ledger. You pose, not out of curiosity, but because the path ahead is blocked. She says her child is sick. The landlord says she's 2 weeks overdue. She cries, screams, begs. He stands still, tapping the ledger. A child huddles behind her skirt, eyes wide, unblinking. Finally, he turns away. I'll be back this afternoon. If there's no money, you're out. She slumps, muttering something inaudible. You pass by quietly, avoiding her gaze. If you look too closely, you'll see yourself in her eyes. Back home, your mother is washing a shirt with ash water. The fabric is frayed, peeling like fish scales. She scrubs, not to clean it, but to keep it from molding further. The girl with tangled hair is mending a shoe. The needle is bent, the thread old, the hole as wide as a front tooth. She looks up, asks if you got anything. You shake your head, then drop the coin on the table. Your mother glances at it, wraps it carefully in dry cloth, and tucks it into a tin box. The box is labeled rent money. Under the dust, the words remain clear. You stare at it for a moment, then turn away. No one says anything more. Afternoon falls. The sun doesn't show. The light just fades. The house grows cold. You gather rag scraps and light a fire in the small iron stove. Smoke rises, stinging your eyes. But there's fire. Fire means a night. You sit near the stove, hands outstretched for warmth. The girl pulls an old candy from her pocket, soft, sticky, lint-covered. She splits it, gives you half. You take it. Eat slowly. The faint sugar taste is enough to make you feel human. Outside, rain begins. The first drops hit the tin roof. You hear the steady drip, then a heavier patter. The rain carries the smell of earth, garbage, and dampness. You sigh. Another wet night. But you don't complain, because today, you didn't fall. You didn't cough blood, and you still have your bag, your shirt, and a hand that can hold a coin in the flickering dark. You think about tomorrow, not hoping for much, just another chance to beat rags. Pick up wilted greens. Come home with hands, not empty, and for an afternoon thick with fog, torn rags, nosebleeds, and rent money. That is enough for now. You sit by the small iron stove, warming your hands over a low flame fueled by rag scraps, old newspapers, and bits of scavenged wood. The smoke stings your eyes, its acrid smell seeping into your clothes. But you stay as close as you can. The evening cold is quieter than the morning's less biting, more persistent, like a hand gently squeezing your neck from behind. You hunch your shoulders, pull a blanket over your knees, and listen to the familiar sounds of the room. A cough echoes from the opposite corner. Harsh, dry, heavy. You hear its final note hit the wooden wall and bounce back like a small drumbeat of warning. No one reacts. No one asks who's coughing. In this room, coughing is normal. Almost a second kind of breathing. Your mother sits sewing a shirt's hem. Her hands tremble slightly, but the needle moves steadily. Each stitch is a day survived. The girl with tangled hair leans against the wall, eyes half closed, still holding the half-mended shoe. Aunt Em lies on her side, breathing evenly and softly, accustomed to nothing softer than the musty mat on the floor. Footsteps stop outside the door, a short knock, then the door cracks open. It's the young man who rents the bed at night, hair parted, long face, carrying a cloth bundle. He steps in silently, nods, and sets the bundle near the stove. Inside are scraps of paper, a few pieces of wood, and something like a book cover. He quietly feeds them into the fire, stirring it to burn brighter. The stove rattles faintly. Everyone shifts closer. No words. No need to claim space. Warmth is enough. Later, another cough breaks out. More urgent this time. You turn and see the old man at the far end of the room, curled up. His face is pale, sweat beading, despite the cold. Your mother glances over, then stands, placing a damp cloth on his forehead. No medicine, no clean water, but a human hand. The air grows thick. The stove's warmth isn't enough. Not because the fire's weak, but because everyone's keeping their distance. That cough sounds familiar, like the one from last winter, when 3 people in the row house died in 7 days. They called it the silent week. No one spoke, because speaking might mean you're next. A whisper rises. It's the night renter, talking softly to the girl with tangled hair. His eyes flick to the door. His hand traces something on the floor. She nods, then looks at you. You understand, though no one says it. This is a meeting. No invitations. No schedule. Just glances, breaths, and silent agreement. You listen. The man talks about goods. Not bread. Not cloth. Paper. A bundle of old paper from a print shop in the north. They'll take it to the night market. Trade it for oil, salt, or medicine. But he can't go alone. The streets are dark, with guards and thieves. He needs someone to go with him. The girl can't go. Her foot's burned. Aunt Em is too old. Your mother won't let you go. But you know you'll go anyway, because you have strength, legs, and enough nerve. You ask what time. He answers, 2 in the morning. When the church bell rings the 3rd time, you nod. He doesn't smile, just adds more wood to the fire and leans against the wall. The room falls silent again. The coughing eases. The old man drifts off. Your mother folds the shirt. The girl pulls a blanket over her shoulders. Outside, the rain slows. Inside, the small fire still burns, casting light on bruised cheeks, wrinkles at the corners of eyes, stains on patched cloth. You sit there, watching the flames, thinking of the road you'll walk tonight, the guards, the coins that might buy salt, and what could happen if you don't come back. You're not afraid. Not exactly. You're just used to it. When the fire dies down, you stand, quietly wash your face with cold water, and lie on the blanket by the stove, not to sleep deeply, but to rest your eyes. Your feet stay in socks, your hand lightly gripping the cloth bag beside you. In the cramped room, amid the steady breaths of people living on borrowed time and the crackle of burning ash, you close your eyes, waiting for the bell. The bell rings for the third time. Just as the night renter promised, the sound is uneven, offbeat, as if the bell itself is weary. You open your eyes before the final note fades. Needing no call. No reminder. The room is steeped in darkness. The iron stove holds only smouldering embers, glowing faintly red beneath a layer of ash. You rise quietly, like a shadow, clutching your cloth bag, stepping over the legs of sleepers. You don't wake anyone. This trip is just you and him. The others won't ask, they know there's no point. The door opens, and the night's cold air slaps your face like well water. It's not raining, but it's wet. The ground is soaked. Each step clinging, you pull your coat tight, head slightly bowed, eyes scanning. No one's on the street. Or if they are, they're hidden better than you. The night renter waits at the crossroads, by the broken post. He says nothing, just nods. His hand holds a small bundle wrapped in oilcloth, filled with rolled-up old papers. You guess he got them this afternoon? Your job is to escort. Nothing more. You walk side by side. No wasted words. The streets are empty. Light scarce. Only a few flickers from houses where someone hasn't slept. A dog howls in an alley, then falls silent. Your footsteps crunch over broken glass from a small tavern smashed yesterday. They say it was a fight over an empty glass. Here, reasons are always simple. Past the old market, you turn into a narrow alley. The smell is like the morning bucket, but stronger. You breathe through your mouth. Your hand grips the bag tighter. He leads. Steps sure, like he's walked this path dozens of times. You've never been to the old print shop, but you know it's one of the least noticed places. Tucked between two rows of houses, abandoned after the plague 3 years ago. No one wants to live near where so many died. The darkness thickens as you both slip through a broken wooden fence. A gap, narrow as a kennel door, just wide enough for one to squeeze through. You pause for a second to glance back. The feeling of entering a place with no clear exit always makes you hesitate. But you don't stop. Inside, the air reeks of mouldy paper and dried ink. It's thick, like clotted ash. You strike a match. Its faint glow, lighting a stained wall, once part of the East Side's famed print shop. The printing tables remain, coated in dust. A rusted iron frame hangs upside down, dented and warped. He points you to a corner, where a hidden hollow lies under the floor. You help lift a plank. Beneath is a small wooden chest with more paper. You glance at it. Some sheets are still printed ads for hair tonic, fever powders. One scrap reading Parliament decides. You don't read on, as you both close the chest. A sound comes from outside the wall. Not loud, but clear. You both freeze. You look at him. His eyes don't blink. His hand tightens on the bundle. Then he signals go. You slip out the same way. Not running, but moving faster as you climb through the fence. Your foot catches. A soft thud echoes, hitting the ground. You realize you've lost a shoe. Your left foot lands on wet, freezing earth, cold as stone. You turn back, but he's already moving. You stand for a second. The shoe's caught on the fence. Between broken slats, you start to climb back, but a torch's light flares in the distance. Someone's coming. You don't know if it's guards or thieves. Either way, they're not here to talk. You abandon the shoe and run after him. Heavy footsteps sound behind. Then a shout. Not a name, just a vague yell. Maybe an order. Maybe a warning. You don't look back. One glance could mean a fall. You've seen people fall. They don't get up. You both cut through a dark alley. Wind lashes your face, carrying dust and ash. You're out of breath. Your bare foot stepping on glass. Pain. Burning. But you don't stop. He opens a hatch under a wooden bridge. You both slip inside. The door shuts. Darkness swallows all sound. You sit, back against the wall, heart pounding like a festival drum. Beside you, he breathes heavily, but not panicked. You look at your foot. Blood seeps, mixing with mud. Not serious. If you don't get a fever, you both sit there for nearly an hour. Outside, the footsteps fade. You don't know if they've left or are waiting. But you know one thing tonight. You lost a shoe. And in this situation, losing a shoe is still a light loss. He hands you a piece of dry, rock-hard bread. You chew slowly, bit by bit. Not from hunger, but because it gives you something to feel in your mouth. In a night where everything else has slipped from your grasp. Neither of you speaks. No need. Each breath is a silent agreement that you're still alive. And tomorrow, you'll have to go home, explaining why your foot's wet, your body's dirty, and your shoes are down to one. You sit there, in the black night, amid the smell of dried ink, cold, stone floor, and a sharp pain with every twitch of your left foot. There's no glory in this, just quiet, and a missing shoe. You return home when the sun isn't yet high enough to shine through the door's crack. Your left foot is wrapped in a torn, sodden rag, reeking of dampness. Your body smells of smoke from the night. Hair matted with fog, hands smudged with soot and dirt. You knock 3 times, a faint sound. Then the door opens slightly. Your mother stands there, eyes red, lips pressed tight. She doesn't ask. She just steps back to let you in. Inside, the room is still asleep. Aunt Em lets out soft, raspy snores. The night renter is gone, as if he never existed. The girl with tangled hair lies curled up, still clutching her bag with the half-mended shoe. The iron stove is cold. The room smells of sweat, burnt wood, and stagnant water. You head straight to the washing corner. But when you lift the bucket's lid, it's empty. Not a drop. Your mother looks at you from across the room and shakes her head. Last night, the boy downstairs had a fever. His mother used all the water to cool him. You nod, not blaming her. In this house, the shivering get priority. You pull a cloth from your bag and wipe your face with the last spit in your mouth. Then you sit, unwrapping your foot. The blood has dried, sticking to the rag like old glue. You pull gently, teeth clenched. The girl with tangled hair sits up, sees the scene, but says nothing. She just takes a small piece of cloth from her bag and hands it to you. You take it, nodding in place of thanks. While you rewrap your foot, a noise comes from the stairs. Not the familiar sound of footsteps, a slow, low rustling, like clothes brushing against the wall. Everyone hears it, Eyes turn toward the staircase. You stand, edging closer. Your hand lifts the dusty curtain. Behind it is a stranger, a gaunt man, hair reaching his shoulders, eyes sunken. His clothes are wet, hands clutching a cloth bag. He looks at you, not afraid, just tired. Your mother asks, "Who's that?" You turn, shaking your head. The man speaks, voice hoarse. "I just need to rest a bit. I was kicked out from the house by the docks." No one responds. No one orders him out. In the silence, your mother hands him an old blanket. He takes it, retreating deeper into the shadowy corner. Another person, another portion to divide smaller. You return to your spot. Your hands are cold, but your heart isn't. The girl pulls a needle from her bag, intending to keep mending her shoe, but as she threads it through the leather, it snaps, breaks clean in half. She sits still, staring at the needle's tip on the floor. Her eyes don't blink. You understand it's not just a needle. It's the last time she hoped to finish something. You stand, dig through your bag for a scrap of wire, and hand it to her. She takes it, starting to bend it into a hook, not to mend neatly, just to do something next. That morning, no bells ring. No calls come from the street. A light drizzle falls, seeping through roof cracks, dripping onto your neck if you tilt your head. Your mother makes thin porridge, enough for 5 small bowls. You get the 4th. The stranger gets the last. No objections. In this house, objecting is a luxury. You eat slowly, not to savor, but because eating fast would remind you you're still hungry. The girl doesn't eat, just stares at the broken needle, twisted into a hook. You say quietly, "Tonight, I'll scavenge for coins." She looks up, doesn't ask more. You know she understands. Everyone's planning in their head, even when there's little left to plan for. Noon comes. The rain stops. Wind blows through the window. The air is cooler, but not cleaner. The stranger's smell grows noticeable. He hasn't said more, hasn't slept, just sits, clutching the blanket, staring at the floor. You know that look. It's the look of someone planning to slip away unnoticed, or waiting to be thrown out. Your mother says nothing, just keeps sewing the shirt. Aunt Em stirs, pulling the blanket over her ears. No one asks the stranger's name, because knowing a name makes it harder to kick someone out. The morning drags, like spoonfuls of cold porridge. You rewrap your foot, tying the cloth tighter. The wound hasn't worsened, hasn't healed, but you're used to pain. Pain isn't scary. Feeling nothing is the real alarm. You look at the broken needle in the girl's hand, then at the stranger by the stairs. Outside, the water has drained from the alley, but inside, you feel everything sinking. A morning with no water, a man with no home, and a needle no longer whole. And through it all, you're still breathing. You leave the house just as darkness settles. The bandage on your foot has dried, stiff as old cardboard. But you try to walk evenly. Your mother hands you a small coin, so worn the silver coating is nearly gone, revealing a dark core. She says nothing as she places it in your hand. You make no promises as you take it. Here, promises are only useful when you have choices. The night streets aren't empty. The night market is almost its own world. You pass the old print shop, not stopping, not glancing. You don't want to recall the cold ground against your back, or the lingering sting in the sole of your foot. Some memories are best left alone. The market lies between 2 rows of abandoned houses. Oil lamps flicker, giving off smoke and burnt grease. Tattered tarps hang loosely, just enough to keep buyers from leaving. You push through a crowd, haggling over an old pair of shoes with a nail still embedded. Laughter, curses, and calls blend like a song. You walk slowly, eyes scanning each stall. Someone sells old copper wire, cut from church bells. Another offers bars of soap, soft as mouldy tofu. A child sells reboiled water in a pot that looks like an inkwell. You pause at a meat stall. The sharp smell of decay mixes with pepper and dried onions. The meat is grey, edges dried, marked by flies. The seller, a loud woman with a tattooed wrist you can't read, gives you a glance before looking elsewhere. As if you're not worth persuading, you don't ask the price. You know you can't afford it, but you linger long enough to know, come back late, and that meat will be cheaper, or gone. You move on, past a stall of old books, pages mouldy, a spine split. One has a picture of a chair, titled, How to Sit Properly. You let out a soft chuckle. Here, proper posture is having something to sit on. Then you see him, the man selling lessons. He sits in the middle of the path. No stall, no sign. In front of him is a broken wooden chair, missing a leg, and a drawstring cloth bag. When someone approaches, he holds out the bag. 1 coin. Draw a lesson. No choosing. You stand a few steps away. Watching, a young girl hesitantly offers a coin. Her hand trembles as she pulls out a small paper. She reads, then goes quiet, folding it and tucking it into her coat. You see her lips pressed together, holding back a laugh, or tears. You step closer, not because you believe, but because you're curious about what you won't get to choose. The old man looks at you, his eyes cloudy, yellowed. He holds out the bag. You give him the coin your mother gave you. Your hand reaches into the bag. Inside are many folded scraps, smelling of smoke and sweat. You pick one, pull it out, open it slowly. The faded ink reads, a person who falls from running fast isn't weak. They fell because they thought they couldn't stumble. You read it. Fold it back. Say nothing. The old man nods, takes the paper, and puts it back in the bag. No one keeps the lesson, because once learned, it doesn't need reminding. You turn away, hands empty, but mind full. Something pricks. Not in your foot, but near your heart. Not because of the words, because they're truer than you want to admit. You wander the market, spotting a man selling bread dipped in broth. He cuts it with a dull blade, dunks it in a pot of brown liquid, and sprinkles pepper. You buy half a portion, not because it's good, but because it's soft, easy to swallow. After eating, you feel warmer, damper, and, a bit more real, you pass a travelling apothecary. The woman selling claims her medicine cures coughs, fevers, cracked heels, even heartbreak. The price is 2 whole socks. You smile. You don't even have 2. As the market starts to thin, you buy a bundle of wilted turnips for half a coin from an old woman with an extra finger. You thank her. She doesn't hear clearly. You nod instead. On the way back, you pass the old print shop, looking toward where you lost your shoe. It's still there, on the broken fence, soaked by rain, speckled with mold. You climb to retrieve it, not to wear, to keep, however worn. It's yours. And here, owning something is worth preserving. Back home, you hand the turnips to your mother. She looks at them, then at you. No words, no questions about the lesson. She knows if it's worth sharing, you'll share. If not, it's part of you now. You sit near the stove. The embers are rekindled. Your hands warm slowly. In your mind, the words still echo. A person who falls from running fast isn't weak. You're not sure if you just ran or just fell. You cut the turnips with a dull knife. Its blade chipped in 3 places. Each slice makes a small creak, as if the turnips are protesting being split apart. Your mother gathers the wilted tops, quietly soaking them in a basin of thin ash water. The girl with tangled hair blows on the fire. Her eyes red, not from the smoke, from the burn on her foot, now festering. You glance over. Her face is paler than usual, and her lips press tight each time she shifts her foot. You don't ask how much it hurts. Here, pain isn't measured in degrees. It's measured in silence. Your mother sprinkles a pinch of old salt into a pot of water. The smell rises, sour and salty. Turnip porridge isn't tasty, but it's thick. And more importantly, it's hot. In this place, anything that steams is a kind of wealth. The stranger under the stairs hasn't left. He doesn't sleep, doesn't speak, just sits like a shadow, waiting for something no one knows. Aunt Em quietly asked you if he might steal. You shook your head. Steal what? Anyway, the evening drags. Slow, as spoonfuls of cooling porridge. A cough echoes from the next room. A new cough. Not Aunt Em's. Not the old man's. Someone new. A new resident. New coughs always make the whole row house hold its breath. You lift the pot's lid, dividing the porridge into 4 bowls. A smaller one for the stranger. When you hand it to him, he looks at you. A brief glance, then lowers his head. It's the longest thank you you've ever gotten from him. The girl doesn't eat. She says her mouth tastes bitter. Your mother looks at her, then pulls a small, broken sugar cube from her pocket. Split into 3 pieces. She gives her one, then turns away. You know how long she's kept that sugar. Maybe since before you could walk. You sit by the window, listening to the wind whistle through roof cracks. Outside, someone's shouting about an iron ship. You tilt your ear. Kids run past the door, yelling that they saw it at the docks, that it has iron wheels, moves without horses, that it roars like thunder and runs faster than wind. You look at your mother. She doesn't react. The girl shakes her head. Another story to steal bread. You chuckle softly. Here, every rumour is a way to forget hunger or swipe a shoe. Aunt Em asks, "Is it real?" A horseless ship. You don't answer. But you remember a drawing, printed on a newspaper, of a massive machine. Smoke billowing from its front. You don't know what powers it. But if it's real, this place will have to change. And change here usually means someone loses a bed. Your mother sighs. Iron ship. So what? Will it bring turnips? You say nothing. But you know, even if it doesn't bring turnips, it carries something heavier, hope. And here, hope is the most dangerous thing after hunger. You look at your bowl. A bit left. You give the rest to the girl. She doesn't refuse. Her hands are cold. You touch them briefly, then pull back. She looks at you, says nothing. You don't either. That glance holds more than any words could. The stove weakens. White ash coats the embers like dirty snow. You toss in more wood scraps. The crackle returns. The fire flares. Enough for tonight. The stranger stands, heading for the door. You strain your ears. No footsteps. He slips out like a shadow into the wind. Your mother doesn't lock the door. If he comes back, at least we know he was hungry. You lean against the wall, hugging your knees. The girl rests her head on your shoulder. A little weight. A little warmth. Outside, the kids still shout about the iron ship. Maybe tomorrow, they'll say it flies. But tonight, you just hope the cough doesn't reach your side. You're about to lie down when the girl sits up, gently tugging your hand toward the corner. The stove's broken, she whispers. The bottom cracked 2 days ago. Mother didn't say. You look and see ash falling through a small gap, maybe from tossing wood too hard this afternoon. You feel guilty, but your mother waves it off. Tomorrow. Go to the scrapyard. See if there's a pot base that fits. The scrapyard is behind the old monastery kitchen. People dump everything there, hold pans. Broken tables. Lidless kettles. You once found a shard of mirror. Cracked, but enough to see one cheek. You say you'll go in the morning. The girl nods but falls silent. You know that silence is worry. Not about finding a pot base. About you not coming back. Night deepens. The room filled only with breathing. Aunt Em murmurs in her sleep. Your mother wraps a scarf around her neck. The girl stays sitting. Head on your shoulder. Eyes open. Not because she can't sleep. Because she doesn't dare close them. Wind howls outside. This time, it carries a vendor's call. Not loud. Not clear. But someone's hawking in the night. You tilt your head. The voice isn't familiar. An outsider's accent. Camphor oil. Stops coughs. Stops cold. Stops sorrow. You chuckle softly. The first time this week, you've heard someone sell a cure for sorrow. But the girl says, someone drank that oil last week. Vomited all night. They thought it cured bites. You look at her. She's not joking. You think of the burns, bites, and stings in the neighborhood. A child bitten on the toe by a rat. Nearly gangrenous. An old man sleeping near a pipe. Face swollen from fire ants. All treated with ash water. Salt. Or faith. You ask quietly. Do you believe in medicine? She replies. I believe in it. Not the sellers. You laugh. Louder this time. The sound breaks through the room like a kettle lid lifting after winter. Your mother opens her eyes. Surprised. But then smiles. The room's air thaws a little. The stranger returns. Standing at the door. Rain-soaked. His hands are empty. His coat muddy. No one asks where he went. He sits in his old spot. Exhaling long. Your mother hands him a cloth. He wipes his face. No thanks. But he's not as silent as before. He asks. Anything to eat? Aunt Em bolts up, gone all day, and comes back asking for food. You cut in, there's some porridge left at the pot's bottom. Your mother scoops it out. Hands it to him. He eats fast. Eyes down. Then he mutters. Almost to himself, that iron ship's real. Everyone turns. You ask? You saw it. He nods. I work the docks. Someone paid me to move stuff. When I opened the tarp, I saw black iron. Big as a coffin, lying flat. Fire at the front. The girl asks. Does it have wheels? He shrugs. Didn't Dari look long? They say it doesn't stop. Anyone in front gets crushed. The room grows cold again. Not from wind, from imagination. You press. Where's it going? No idea. Some say to another land. Some say it's for nobles. Some say it's a sign crusher. You laugh. Then this place should board first. No one laughs with you. You realize the joke cut too true. The stranger says, I heard. If you get on, you won't need turnip porridge anymore. The girl shakes her head. In exchange for no family, no one to bury you. Aunt Em says, if it takes me where there's no coughing, I'd go. You look around. Suddenly, everyone seems to be picking their reason to board the ship. You lie down. Eyes open. Your mind holds an image of a massive black machine. Spitting fire. Screeching. Carrying people. And hope. You picture yourself inside. Not because you believe. Because there's nothing else left to imagine. You slip into sleep as the wind quiets. And in your dream, you hear the ship. Not loud, but clear. It doesn't carry turnips, but it runs. That morning, the rain falls like a habit, not an event. You pull an old sack over your head, tying it under your chin, and slip into mismatched shoes. One is the shoe you retrieved after the chase. The other swapped from a kid at the market for a piece of sugar. Both are torn, but in different places, so they're whole enough. You leave before your mother wakes. The ground is slick as eel skin, cold under your soles despite the shoes. The scrapyard is over 10 blocks away. Past 2 turns and a slippery slope. You've walked this path before, but not to fix anything. This time, you're searching for a stove base, or something that could pass as one, or anything no one claims. You avoid puddles of rainwater, following a row of mossy walls. The smell of rust carries from a distance, thick in the air. At the yard, you see 2 people arguing over a pile of tin cans. They're fighting over a broken pipe. One wants it to boil water, the other to make a urinal. You don't intervene. Here, every reason is valid. The scrapyard gate has no door, just 2 wooden beams leaning against each other like tired old men arguing. Inside is a small maze of rusted iron, rotted cloth, and cracked resin. The smell is unidentifiable. Not kite fool, not kite rotten, but definitely not from anything living. You pick through piles of bed frames, chair shells, broken cart wheels. Your hands sift through the debris, like turning the city's memories. A mirror frame without glass, an iron disc, warped on one side, but the right size. You take it, blow off the dust. Then you hear footsteps, heavy steps, steady, like someone who knows the path. You turn. The gatekeeper, he's tall, his skin thick as old tires, shoulders broad. But what you remember most is the 3rd ear. It sits on his forehead, slightly left. Unclear if it's a scar or a birthmark. It doesn't hear, but it sees. A curved scar runs from it to his cheek. He doesn't speak, just stares, then points at the disc in your hand. What's the trade? You answer softly. I have a piece of copper wire. He nods. 2 pieces. You dig in your pocket. There's exactly 1 piece. As long as you're pinky. You offer it. He doesn't take it. You look around, spot an old can lid, pick it up, and offer it too. He grins, showing a mouth missing half its teeth. Good enough. You wrap the disc in cloth and turn to leave. He adds, tonight, there's a trade bread for a keychain. Nice keychain. You nod. Not because you care, because he expects a response. On the way back, the rain stops. The road gleams with puddles. You walk fast, careful not to wet the cloth-wrapped disc. You pass a small market where old women trade beans for newspapers. Someone's selling bones boiled from yesterday. The broth is dark, meat clinging to the edges like glue. 1 coin for 3 pieces. You look, then move on. There's still salt at home. No coin left. You reach home near noon. The room is quiet. The girl with tangled hair sleeps sitting, head against the wall. Your mother sews. Ice narrowed. You hand her the disc. She tests it on the stove, turns it once, twice, then nods slightly. It fits. The girl opens her eyes, smiles faintly. Aunt Em rolls over, asks, anyone follow you? You reply, just the 3rd ear. Your mother laughs. A second mouth's less scary than a 3rd ear. You're not sure if it's a joke or truth, but it lightens the room's air a little. You clean the stove, light the fire, The old ash is dry as paper. You blow, and the flames flare like a sneeze. The girl hands you some dried onions. You peel, eyes stinging, but it feels clean. Onions with salt, cooked in leftover turnip water, become the day's main dish. Lunch is hot, simple, and quiet. While eating, your mother tells a story about finding a mirror shard. I saw my hair was grey. Saw it before anyone told me. The girl tells of someone in the row who kept a sparrow in a tin box. They opened it every morning. Whistled. The bird danced. Aunt Em shares an old tale. She once had a red dress. Then it burned. Each story is a feather. Light. Floating. Stacked together. They form a nest. In the afternoon, you wash the pot. Set the stove disk on the roof to dry. The sun peeks out. The smell of hot iron stirs a memory of summer. Though you can't recall the last real sunny day, the girl mends her bag's strap. Your mother checks an old rice sack. Barely a handful left. Aunt Em clips her nails with a small knife. Everyone's busy with small things. They hold the room's fragile order together. Late afternoon. A knock at the door. A boy. Face smudged. My sister's coughing bad. Anyone got medicine? Your mother looks at you. You nod. Pull a cloth with dried orange peel from your bag. Boil it with ginger water. It'll soothe her throat at least. The boy thanks you. Runs off. The girl says, "What if she doesn't get better?" You reply. At least she knows someone cares. Night falls. You step outside for air. You see the stranger, the one from under the stairs. He leans against a wall. Eyes distant. I'm working the iron ship now. You nod. He continues. It's not like they say. It has seats. A pull cord. But it's cold. And it doesn't stop unless someone stands in its way. You ask. You going back? He pauses. Then, if someone's waiting, I will. You don't ask who's waiting, but you understand. Back in the room. The smell of ash. Turnips. Salt. But also the smell of people. Of living. You lie down. Head on your cloth bag. The girl pulls a blanket over your shoulder. No words. You don't speak either. And that night, for the first time in weeks, you dream of something not damp. You dream of the stove burning bright, with a new disc, perfectly fitted. Someone knocks, bringing a smile. You don't wake in the middle, because in the dream, there's no wind. You wake to the sound of water running. Not rain, not a leaking roof. Someone's washing their hands in the tin basin. You open your eyes and see your mother gently scrubbing a cloth. The water is grey-brown, flecked with a few strands of hair. The faint light through the door's crack signals a morning still taking shape. The girl is still asleep. Aunt Em snores softly. Steadily, you sit up, stepping quietly toward your mother. Whose cloth is that? She doesn't turn. The boy from last night. He brought it back. Said his sister's cough is better. You nod. Then wash your face with water, so cold it numbs. But the chill wakes you. Today is the big market day. Every 1st, 15th, and 21st. People from other districts flock in, bringing what they call luxuries, coarse salt, whole dried fish, faded coloured cloth, and sometimes news. You know if there's anything new about the iron ship, it'll be whispered at the market today. You decide to go, without a word. Your mother knows. She nods, handing you a small cloth bag. Inside are 2 brass buttons, a cracked piece of soap, and a nearly spent spool of thread. You don't need money. At the market fair, everything but money is traded. You put on your oldest coat, the kind no one would steal and leave. The market is already crowded. People jostle shoulder to shoulder. The air smells of human skin, dried fish, wet shoes, and hope mixed with hunger. Voices buzz like wind trapped in your ears. You pass women arguing over the smell of cooking oil. An old man selling shoelaces braided from old rope. A young girl drawing eyebrows with charcoal. You stop at a stall with a dented copper pot hanging. The seller, a young woman with rough hands and a red cord around her neck, offers you a piece of bread made from flour and grease. You decline, but she smiles. Buy 2 next time. I'll give you 3. You smile back. Not sure there'll be a next time. You move on to the information corner, where people sell nothing but words. A man with a jawline beard and gold-capped teeth claims he saw the iron ship loaded with guns. The crowd murmurs. Some call it a lie. Others say, guns mean war. Some, like you, just listen. An old woman grabs your arm. Heard about the girl who went missing. You shake your head. Last week, she followed the ship. Didn't come back. Anyone find her body? She shrugs. Maybe the ship eats people. You shiver. Not because you believe it, but because part of you thinks it's not impossible. You leave the rumor corner and stop by the old bookstall. Today, there's a new one. How to boil water with sunlight. You flip through it. Damp pages. Page 3 is half missing. But the drawings are clear, showing a pot in a mirrored box. You think of the stove at home. Then close the book. Not practical. You find a horn button. Old, but nice. You offer a brass button to trade. The seller shakes his head. Something else? You add the soap piece. He nods. Deal done. You attach the button to your sleeve right away. The old one fell off yesterday. You pass the medicine stall. An old man displays goods in a broken suitcase. Dried leaves. Root scraps. A bottle of brown liquid. He whispers. Medicine for coughs. Sleep. Forgetting people. You ask? Half joking. What about remembering? He looks at you. Smiles. No one wants to remember. You don't buy anything, but you remember his words. On the way back, you see a child squatting by the curb, drawing a ship in the dirt. You watch. He asks, know how fast the iron ship goes? You shake your head. So fast, you forget your name before it's gone. You laugh. The kid might be right. You reach home at dusk. Your mother's peeling turnips. The girl's tearing cloth. Scraps for lamp wicks. Aunt Em stares through the door's crack, waiting for something that doesn't come. You hand the button to your mother. She nods. Nice. The girl tries it, then hangs it around her neck like a pendant. You don't say anything, but it feels good. The evening passes in comfortable silence. Your mother tells of someone who made bread from banana peels. The girl says she once saw a fish climb a tree, maybe during a fever. Aunt Em shares a dream from last night. I rode the iron ship, flew over rivers, fields, then woke up with aching feet. You think sometimes dreams are just your body telling you to stop. The stove fire burns steady. The meal is simple, as always. But you notice everyone finish. No one saves their share. That's a good sign. When people stop saving, it means they believe there'll be a next time. Before sleep, the girl whispers, would you follow the ship? You don't answer right away? Then, if it stops, she laughs softly. If it doesn't, then I'll just watch. You lie down. This time, off you dream you're not running. You're standing, watching the iron ship pass. In the first car, someone familiar, their face unclear, but you know they've been hungry. Dreamed, waited, and when the ship vanishes, you're still standing. No regrets, no remorse, just waiting, because sometimes What matters isn't boarding. It's knowing when you don't need to. You wake before dawn. No roosters. No bells. Just a faint tightening in your stomach. Reminding you today isn't like yesterday. You put on your thickest coat, torn at the shoulder. But it holds warmth. Your mother is still asleep. Hands clutching a cloth bag. Aunt Em is awake. Eyes open. Staring at the ceiling as if reading invisible words. The girl with tangled hair sits by the stove, stirring the ashes, keeping the fire alive. You rest a hand on her shoulder. No words. She doesn't ask. She just pulls a small cloth from her pocket inside. Crumbs of bread. Wrapped like treasure. Take it, she says. Not for you. For whoever goes with you. You smile faintly. No promise to return. No vow to be careful. Just a slight bow to all three. Then you step out. The sky is still purple-blue. The city hasn't fully woken. You pass the narrow alley, the scrap heap, the lane where they say singing drifts at midnight. Your shoes are soaked, but your feet are used to the cold seeping from toes to heels. You follow a trail, not footprints, but rumors. You reach the old dock, where the stranger said he saw iron wheels. Now, only faint ruts remain, and a few charred wood scraps. Someone's clearing debris. You ask, did the iron ship stop here? They shake their head. Didn't stop. Just passed through. You don't falter. You keep going. Past the market, the sewer path, up the stone slope to the west. There, you meet an old woman with a bag, heavy as a secret. She says, if you want the ship, find the hidden station, where go to the end of the road. When you see a dead tree with green leaves, turn left. You don't ask more. Directions like that are rarely wrong, just not right away. You walk. By noon, you meet a group of kids. They're drawing ships in the dirt, playing bored or be left behind. One points you onward. Want to see the real ship? Follow Sister 8. She cooked for the ship's keeper. You find Sister 8. An older woman with 3 deep wrinkles like cuts on her face. Hands never still. She says, the ship has no horn, just light. When it comes, no one speaks. They just watch. Do people follow it? Some do. Not all come back. You ask, anyone named Lynn go missing? She nods. Curly-haired girl. Always wore a cord necklace. Got swept away on a cloudy day. You thank her. The name isn't quite familiar, but you know a mother's been waiting. You turn left at the dead tree with green leaves. A faint path leads into a reed forest. Wind howls in bursts. You step slowly. The deeper you go, the fainter the city's sounds. Only your footsteps and heartbeat remain. You spot a shack. Small, but sturdy. An oil lamp glows inside. You knock. An old man, thin as kindling, opens the door. Deep-set eyes. Trembling hands. I keep the station, he says. Not for the ship. For those chasing it. You offer the breadcrumbs. He doesn't take them. Just points to a bamboo chair. Sit. Listen. He tells you. Every month. People come. Want to follow. Want to escape. But the ship waits for no one. It arrives. And those who board go. Those who don't, stay. You ask, does anyone come back? Some do. But not the same. What do you mean? They smile more. But their eyes don't. You go quiet, staring at the lamp. Its golden light dances with the wind. In it, you see a blurry image of yourself. Not clear, but real. He hands you an old map. This is the ship's old route. It changes. You take it. Thank him. And leave the shack. You keep going. You reach a place with a crooked sign, unofficial stop. You stand there. The wind is strong. You pull out the bread. Eat half. The other half you place on the signpost like an offering for luck. You wait. As the sun sets, you hear metal, distant, but certain, not loud, but real. You turn. No ship, but a figure. It's Lynn. No mistake. She stands under a tree, looking at you. No words. No smile. Just a hand pointing the opposite way. You follow. When you blink, she's gone. Only a cord necklace hangs on a branch. You take it. Look around. Then head back. No whistle sounds. No tremors shake the ground. When you open your eyes, the ship has stopped. The light outside is dimmer than before. Not night, but not morning either. The sky is a cold ash grey, like dust caked on a sealed box. You don't know how long you've been travelling. No clock, no days, just a slowing in your chest. Not quite sadness. More like knowing you're about to enter an old but significant room. The door opens. You stand and step out. The scene before you makes you pause. No city, no trees, just a vast, flat expanse, as if someone ironed all memories into the ground. In the distance, there are figures. You walk toward them. Your shoes sink slightly into the dry, clay-like earth. The wind is gentle but carries the smell of old iron. The first person you meet is a woman. She sits on a three-legged chair, eyes fixed on the horizon. As you approach, she smiles. Not a welcoming smile, but one that says she knew you'd come. You ask directly, "Where is this?" She answers without hesitation. "This place has no name. It's just for those who needed somewhere they didn't have to return from." You look around. A few scattered tents stand. Someone's boiling water. Someone's sewing. A child chases a kite made of newspaper. No houses. No signs. Nothing but people who seem unhurried. Unworried. With no plans to leave. You ask if this is a station. She nods. The final stop. Not for the ship. For memories. You're led to something like a communal house. A long structure of thick canvas, held by wooden poles and ropes. Inside are straw mats, a few bookshelves, and a small wood stove. You see faces. Some look at you. Some don't. A silver-haired man nods at you. A girl with half her face, covered by an earth-coloured scarf, sits in a corner, holding a tin box. You pick a spot to sit. No one asks your name. No one asks where you're from. Here, it seems, the past isn't needed. As long as you don't cause trouble, you're left in peace. You sit for a long time. No clear thoughts. Just observing. And you notice everyone here has the same look in their eyes. Not sad. Not happy. Not empty. Like they're seeing something far off that you haven't caught sight of yet. At dusk, you're invited to eat. Simple lentilles soup. Old bread dipped in water, but hot. A man with a grey beard sits across from you. He asks if you saw anyone else. You say only Lynn, but she vanished. He's not surprised. Nods. Lynn was one of the few who didn't choose to stay. You ask what staying is for. He scoops a spoonful of soup, blows gently. To stop running. You sleep in the tent that night. As you lie down, the canvas ceiling looks like a sky full of iron nails. A faint breeze slips through the gaps. You dream, or think you dream, of the ship moving underground. Its car's empty but still running, and a hand waves at you from a window with no glass. The next morning, you're taken to a place called the leaving place. A small room with wooden walls and a blackboard. On it, hundreds of lines written in chalk, charcoal, scratched by fingernails. Everyone who came here left something, a sentence, a name, a symbol, a sorrow trimmed short. You pick up a piece of chalk, don't know what to write. Then you write, I still remember. No one asks who. No one needs an explanation. Because anyone who reaches this place remembers something deep enough to lead them to the end of the tracks. In the days that follow, you start recognizing faces. The grey-bearded man is Uncle Millet. He used to build ships. Says he once made a boat that never floated. The girl with the scarf is Ting. She doesn't speak, only nods or shakes her head. But when she draws, her hands move like wind. Her sketches hang on the wall, a train passing through a burning city. No people, just shadows. You meet someone who returned. His name is Car. Dark circles under his eyes. Voice halting. Car says the ship can take you away, but can't make you forget. Every night, he dreams of the lamp in his old room. Water, dripping from the roof into an iron pot. Someone calling his name at 3 a.m. You ask why he didn't stay. He says, because someone didn't come with him. You don't ask who. One day, the ship returns. No sound, no warning. It stops at the edge of the land. No one rushes. No one runs. A boy dashes to the ship's gate, places a small stone on the step, then runs back. You watch from a distance. You don't approach, don't want to board, but don't want it to leave without you witnessing it. The ship opens its door. No one steps off. No one steps on. Inside, it's dark as the space between two memories. The door closes. The ship moves on. You return to the tent. That night, you write another line on the board. I'm still here. You wake with the feeling of stepping out of an old dream. No clear images, but the smell of ash and the sound of wheels rolling over gravel linger in your chest. When you open your eyes, Car is already by the fire. The faint glow of burning embers highlights the lines around his mouth. He doesn't smile, but he doesn't look sad. You pour water. Sit across from him. Neither speaks first. The fire crackles, as if telling a story only the two of you understand. You ask what made him come back. He doesn't answer right away. His hand tightens slightly on his cup. Eyes looking down, as if seeing himself in the water. Then he speaks, slow but steady, saying there are people you can't leave behind, even if they're no longer alive. You don't press further. You know what he said isn't a metaphor. He tells you the first time he saw the ship. He didn't plan to go, but when the door opened, he saw a face in the darkness. Not clear, but enough to make him step inside. He didn't know who it was, but when the door closed, he realized it was his younger brother. He's never spoken of his brother. No one here has heard of him. You sit still, holding a cup of cold water. They grew up together in a crumbling row house in the south. His brother's name was Nam. Quick. A good listener. Always laughing. But when the city split into controlled zones, Nam vanished after a trip to the market. No body was found. No one knew exactly what happened. Only an old handkerchief came back, wrapped in a scrap of newspaper with Car's name. Car says he didn't search. Not because he didn't want to, because he couldn't face what he'd never forget. But when the ship came, he had no choice. The ship took him to a nameless place, like where you are now. Unlike you, he didn't stay. He asked one question. Has anyone seen Nam? An old woman pointed to the end of the ship's corridor. He walked there and found a mural. Not beautiful, but unmistakably Nam's handiwork. The bottom right corner had an N. He stayed 3 days. No one spoke to him. No one stopped him. But every night, he heard small footsteps running along the ship's floor. When he turned back, the ship's door was still open. He boarded and returned. You ask what happened next. He says he told no one, because no one would believe him. You stay silent. Outside, the wind begins to whistle through the tent's roof. The fire dims, and you feel something strange. It's not that you want to believe him, but that you can't not believe him. The next day, you go with Car to a small rocky hill in the east. From there, you see the ship's tracks etched into the ground, stretching like a scar in memory. Car says he still dreams of a second journey, one he hasn't taken but knows exists. He calls it the return ship. You ask how it differs from the one that leaves. He looks at you and says, the leaving ship carries what you want to forget. The return ship brings back what you need to remember. You're not sure you want to meet the return ship, but you know if it comes, you won't hide. That evening, back at the tent, you see Tin drawing. This time, it's someone standing at the ship's door, holding a photograph. In the photo is themselves, younger. You don't know who she's drawing, but it feels like you. You sit beside her, say nothing. Tin hands you a blank sheet and a piece of charcoal. You take them and draw a cord necklace. Lynn's necklace, the one you still keep in your pocket. But this time, you add another hand holding it. When you finish, Ting nods. For the first time, you see her smile. That night, you add another line to the message board. I'm waiting for a return. The next day, a new person arrives at the camp. A boy, about 12, with sun-bleached hair and sharp eyes. He doesn't give his name, just sits in a corner, clutching a small wooden block carved like a ship. You ask if he's hungry. He nods. You share bread. He eats quickly but carefully. Then he pulls a scrap of paper from his pocket and hands it to you. It reads, "The ship comes 3 times. The third is the last." You ask who wrote it. He says his mother, but nothing more. You keep the paper in your pocket. It doesn't say much, but it makes you think about time, and about the third time. The next few days, it rains. Not heavily, but steadily. The tents leak. The ground softens, but no one leaves. People patch the roofs, add straw, and every evening, the fire is lit. You and Car sit together, talking about places you've been. He tells you about an iron bridge in the west, where a guard died when a ship passed. Now, whenever a ship comes, his shadow appears on the bridge. No one's sure it's real, but no one crosses at night. You tell him about the girl you saw before the reed forest, Lynn, and the look in her eyes when she vanished. He doesn't ask questions, just says, if she led you to the ship, maybe she isn't truly gone. You're not sure, but his words stay with you all night. The next morning, someone shouts, "It's the new boy." He saw the ship. Everyone runs out, and there it is. Approaching. For the first time, you see it in daylight. Its body gleams as if polished, but reflects nothing. The door opens. No one's there. Car doesn't board. Neither do you. But the boy does. He turns, looks at you, smiles, then steps inside. The ship closes its door and leaves. You watch it go. Your heart not heavy. It feels like a breeze just passed through your life. When you turn back, you see the boy's paper on the ground. You pick it up, turn it over. There's another line. The return ship only opens for those who've gone. You hold it tightly, crumpling the paper, and you understand next time the ship stops, you'll have to choose. When night falls, you can't sleep. Not because of cold, not because of hunger, but because the boy's scrap of paper is still in your hand. Its creases like new lines of fate. The ship only opens for those who've gone, but you have gone, even returned. That means if the return ship opens its door, you could board, But for what? And to where? You don't know. You glance at Car. He lies still, face toward the tent's roof, breathing evenly, as if no worries keep him awake. You step outside. Night fog blankets the ground. The faint glow from dying embers isn't enough to light the path. But you know every stone here, every corner, every turn, has become part of your memory. You approach the blackboard. Your last line is still there. I'm waiting for a return. Beside it, a new one. Don't trust the map. No name. No signature. But the handwriting is rushed, slanting left, as if the writer wanted to flee their own words. You think of the map, the one the old man at the watch station gave you. It led you here, but since then, it's been useless. No one uses it. No one mentions it. As if its purpose ended the moment you reached the final stop. The next morning, you take the map to the yard, spreading it on a dry cloth. The map is old, its edges soft as fabric, but the lines remain. Red ink marks, arrows. You trace each dot and realize something. Some places are no longer right. The final stop, where you are, isn't marked. Some red dots match places you've been, but many seem to be places you don't recall, or places that never existed. You call Car. He sits, staring at the map, silent for minutes. Then he says, "The map isn't wrong. It's old. It doesn't change. But the ship does." You ask if anyone's tried redrawing it. He shakes his head. Everyone who comes here is tired. No one thinks of mapping or guiding others. You go quiet, because you realize, if no one redraws it, everyone's just living in a rut. That day, you visit everyone in the camp. You ask about places they've been, where they saw the ship, where they heard a call. You take notes. Redraf. Use charcoal on cloth. Sketch new paths. Mark questions. Shade the dark zones. People watch you, surprised at first, then start adding their voices. Someone recalls a forest with a whistle, but no ship. Another mentions an underground dock. One says they saw the ship move backward, not forward. You write it all down. No detail skipped. A new map takes shape. You spread it on the west wall of the large tent. For the first time, so many gather. They point, suggest. An old woman pulls a wooden button from her pocket, saying it fell when the ship passed. So, mark that spot. You pin the button to the map. That night, you don't sleep in the tent. You sit under the new map, studying it like a living thing. The lines, the symbols, start to mean something, not just destinations, but memories. Car sits beside you. He says he once tried mapping, too, but stopped halfway, because he didn't want to remember. You ask, "What about now?" He says, now he wants to forget differently. Not by erasing, by recording. The next day, you draw more. Not just places, but feelings. Where you felt fear, where the air smelled like the noon your mother was sick, where the light was like when you got Lynn's necklace. Others in the camp start drawing, too. No one tells them to. But in 3 days, the map becomes a wall of memories. People draw ships, faces, hands holding, hands, eyes looking backward. You write on it. This is a map that doesn't guide. It reminds you the path existed. Then one morning, a new person arrives. A woman. Short hair, deep eyes, carrying a small wooden chest. She doesn't give her name, but she brings a parchment. You open it. It's a map, but not like yours. Its tracks crisscross like a spiderweb. At the center, a large circle with one word, turn. You ask if she drew it. She shakes her head, says she found it in the last car of the ship, on the floor, under dust. You ask if anyone else saw it. She doesn't answer. You compare the maps, yours and hers. They're different, but they intersect. A curved track loops around a dried lake. It's in both maps. You mark it. The next day, you and Car leave the camp. For the first time in days, you see your shadow under the sun. You head toward the lake. Its water is gone, but the lake bed bears deep iron marks. Not from carts, from a ship. You place your hand on it, feeling cold, like the first time you touched the wheel marks before meeting Lynn. Car says this might be the turning point, where the ship returns, or where everything starts again. You're not sure, but you know something's here. Not a destination. A question. You pull out the paper, write another line. If I don't come back, keep drawing. You and Car return to the camp in the late afternoon. The last sunlight filters through the canvas roof, turning floating dust into faint ribbons of light. No one asks where you've been. No one's surprised you're back. Here, returning, seems as expected as the morning breeze. The new map has gained a few scribbles, likely from the kids. A flying ship. A door without a latch. You smile. Don't fix them, because you know, sometimes children draw more accurately than adults. That night, you wake from a dream. In it, you stood between two ships, one leaving, one returning. But you didn't know which side you were on, and when you took a step, both ships pulled away. You sit up, wiping sweat. Outside, the moon is thin as a hair. You step out of the tent. Bakmare is there, holding an iron kettle, a small fire burning beneath it. You sit down, say nothing. He hands you a cup. He tells you he's left the camp 3 times. Each time, he followed the ship's trail. Each time, he came back. Not because the ship didn't go, but because he couldn't go further than the feeling of leaving someone behind without a final word. You ask if everyone returns. He shakes his head. Some leave and are never seen again. No one knows if they vanish or blend into another place. But others, no matter how many times they go, always end up at the starting point. You ask which kind he is. He looks at you. His eyes aren't sad, aren't happy. Just the look of someone who's stood at too many crossroads without choosing. He says he's the one in the middle. You don't grasp it right away, but the next morning, seeing him in the same spot, with the same kettle and unchanged gaze, you start to understand. In the days that follow, you notice something odd. A tall, middle-aged man appears every morning, circles the camp, then vanishes. No one calls his name. No one greets him. You ask Car, who says his name is Fuk. He was here before even Bakmare. You ask why no one talks to him. Car says because Fuk doesn't remember anything. Not who he is, not why he's here, but every morning, he circles, never leaves the camp, never goes far. You watch Fuk one morning. He walks from the main tent, past the blackboard, around the dead oak, pauses at the map, stares for a long time, then returns to his spot. You try calling him. He stops, turns, looks at you for a moment, then keeps walking, like you're a shadow by the road. You ask Car if Fuk ever boarded the ship. Car says once, but when it stopped, Fuk didn't step inside, just looked, then turned away. Since then, he started circling, one loop. Every day, you notice others like him, not going anywhere, just circling, around the camp. No one leaves. No one waits for anything. You start calling them the ones who can't leave. They're not held, not forced to stay. but it's as if they've bound themselves with their own repeating steps. You fear becoming one of them. You talk to Ting. She shows you a new drawing. A circle. Inside, a person drawing another circle. And inside that, another person drawing yet another. You stare at it for a long time. She says nothing, but you understand. You don't want to be the person in the circle. You decide to leave the camp again. You prepare dried food. Take Lynn's necklace. Fold the new map, tucking it into an inner pocket. Write on the blackboard, I'm going, so I don't become a standing point. The next morning, you say goodbye to Carr. He doesn't ask anything, just shakes your hand, then turns away. You leave, heading south, where no one's marked the map. The path is muddy. Grass rises to your waist. You wade through a shallow stream, then climb a bare stone ridge. By noon, you stop under a sparse tree. Eat some bread. The air is still, only distant bird calls. But when you close your eyes, you hear a faint sound. Not wind, not insects. Metal scraping metal. You stand, move slowly, push through a thicket, and find a single railway track. Not new, not old, just there, as if it never left. You kneel, touch it, cold, and faintly trembling. You know the ship is coming. You don't stand right away. Your hand stays on the track, feeling something unusual. Not just the faint vibration of metal, but a kind of anticipation, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. Then, from the distance, through the fog hovering over the dry meadow, you see a familiar shape. A long, pale grey ship, gliding as if it doesn't touch the ground. The door opens before it fully stops. No whistle, no engine hum. No one calls. You walk toward it. At the door, you pose. This doesn't feel like last time. There's something about it. As if you're not just boarding a journey, but untying something you've held onto for too long. You step onto the ship. Inside, it's darker than before. Not pitch black, but a light that makes everything seem decades older. You move through the cars. Each is empty, but each has a different smell. Rain, burnt wood, damp earth. In the third car, you find a small chair in the middle of the floor. On it, a cloth. You unfold it. It's an old, slightly yellowed photo. In it, you're a child, standing in front of your house. A woman leaning down to fix your coat. You remember that day. You had a fever, and your mother wouldn't let you go to school. But you stood in the yard anyway, watching boats pass. You've never had this photo, but someone on this ship did. You hold it and sit down. There's no sound of departure, but you know the ship is moving. You look out the window. Outside, it's unclear. Only shifting bands of color. Not landscapes. Not cities. Like someone sketching your memories with a faded pencil. You don't count time. On this ship, there is no time. Just the sense of moving towards something fading. Then the ship stops. The door opens. Outside is a small town. Not people, but lights glow in a few windows. You step out, your feet touching old stone. The sound like a dream returning. You follow a cobblestone path. A familiar yet strange feeling slows you. Something once intimate, now pushed away by a layer of time's dust. You see a small diner. Its sign is faded. You walk in. Inside, a man stands behind the counter. Back turned, he wears a rolled-up shirt. Hair, salt and pepper. Before you speak, he turns. You don't recognize him at first, but his eyes, the way he looks at you, make you step back. It's your father, not as he is now, but young, Like in the wedding photo your mother hid in a tin box. He looks at you for a moment, then asks if you're hungry. His voice is like yours when you were a child, reciting a poem in class. You don't know what to say. You just nod. He invites you to sit, sets a bowl of plain porridge and a slice of salted egg before you. Doesn't ask where you're from. Doesn't seem surprised, as if he's been waiting for you a long time. You eat without hunger, but each spoonful nearly brings you to tears. When you finish, he takes the photo from your hand, looks at it for a long time. Then he says, "Not all memories are yours. Some are borrowed from others, and at some point, you have to give them back." You ask what you pay with. He doesn't answer, just rests a hand on your shoulder. His hand is warm, like when he steadied you while teaching you to ride a bike. You close your eyes, say nothing, don't want to leave, but you know you can't stay. When you open your eyes, you're back on the ship. On your lap is a small wooden box. No lock, no lid. Inside, a note to go on. Leave behind something you've held too long. You look around. The car is silent. You open your bag, take out Lynn's necklace. You hold it for a long time, then place it in the box. The ship trembles slightly, then moves on. You don't know where it's taking you, but you feel lighter. Through the window, you see tracks, branching like roots. Each path a possibility, each branch a chance unrealized. You see an old door, the door to the room you once lived in, now torn down. But here, on the ship, it stands. You walk to it, open it, and step into your own memory. No people, just small things. A pair of sandals, a half-read book, a coat hanging on a rusted nail. You walk around. Each item is a punctuation mark in a paragraph you left unfinished. You don't know if you need to remember them all, but you know they were. Once you sit on the bed. The springs creak softly. On the wall, a faint line. Here. Time doesn't follow order. You close your eyes and see yourself at different ages. Différentes émotions. Different sorrows with their names erased. But their shadows remain. The ship stops. This time, no one opens the door. But you know the door is inside. You walk to the back wall of the car. There's a small slit, like a peephole. You lean in. You see the camp. Her. The blackboard. Yourself. Sitting. Writing a new line. You startle. Step back. The ship didn't take you away. It brought you back. But back to yourself. At a moment you never reached. You hear the crackle of fire. Someone calling your name from the back of the car. You don't turn. But you know you've arrived. You open your eyes. And stand in the night. The track is before you. The ship is gone. In your hand is the empty box. You turn and start walking. You return to the camp at dawn. The light is still faint, but enough to see the tents quietly draped in dew. The figures inside are asleep, curled under patched blankets, their steady breaths forming small wisps of mist in the cold air. You step lightly, not wanting to wake anyone, but then you see a figure by the blackboard. It's Carr. He's writing something. As you approach, he pauses, turning to look at you. His eyes show no surprise, no unease, just recognition, as if he knew you'd return at this exact moment. You nod. He says nothing, just points to the new line he wrote. A map doesn't end when the ink runs dry. It ends when the drawer stops walking. You stand there, staring at the words. Then pull the empty box from your pocket and set it at the board's base. Carr looks at it, then rests a hand on your shoulder, just for a moment, but enough to pass on something warmer than fire. As the sun rises higher, the camp stirs. The people you've met are still here, But something has changed. Not in them. In you. You recognize each face. But now your gaze carries a new layer of quiet, as if each person has gone a step further without leaving this place. You find Mir by the wood stove. He's still using the old kettle. But today, he boils water longer. When you approach, he looks at you and points to a cup already poured. No questions. No explanations needed. You ask how many have left. He says no one counts. But every time someone departs the camp, a small dot is added to the hand-drawn map on the west wall. You go to the map. Sure enough, beneath the old lines, new dots have appeared. Some have names. Some are just symbols. But all are in parts of the map that were once blank. You take charcoal and draw a new line from where you saw the return ship, connecting to a forest you dreamed of. You name it, the place of remembering. Ting approaches, handing you a new drawing. It shows a person standing between 3 doors. No handles, no labels, just 3 silent, closed doors, and the person is drawing a 4th. You take the drawing, pin it to the map. In the bottom corner, beside the dot you just marked, in the days that follow, you live as if you never left. But you know the camp has changed, not because of the people, because of its meaning. You see more people start to draw, not just maps, but memories. Some draw scenes from inside the ship's cars. Some draw the hands of loved ones they held. Some draw vague things, but enough to remind them of something once vividly real. You begin recording stories, not long ones, short fragments, a piece of memory, a sentence left unsaid, a name mentioned in a dream. You collect them in a small notebook, its cover made of old cloth. On it, you embroider fragments never named. You place the notebook on the camp's only bookshelf. Beneath it, a dry branch. Hanging from it, a small paper note. If you still remember, leave something. That evening, the fire burns brighter than usual. No one speaks loudly, but everyone's eyes seem lit by something nameless. You hear a child's laughter, the chuckle of an old woman teaching someone to sew. Everyday sounds, but the air holds a sense of something waiting to happen. You look up and see a full moon. Large, pale gold. Just like the night you first arrived. You ask Car if something's coming. He smiles, says, maybe the ship, or maybe ourselves. You don't grasp it right away, but as you lie down, staring at the tent's ceiling, you feel a faint stirring in your chest. Not sadness, not hope, acceptance. The next morning, you wake to a shout. Someone's running around the camp, saying a newcomer has arrived. You step out of the tent. The newcomer is a girl, face smudged with dust, hair teed crookedly, holding a notebook. She doesn't give her name, just hands you the notebook and sits by the fire. You open it. Inside are hand-drawn maps, each page a place, a memory, a stretch of road. At the end, a photo carefully pasted. It's Lynn, standing beside you, in front of the ship's gate. You go still, say nothing. The girl says she doesn't know who they are. She found the notebook in an empty ship car. 3 days' walk from the camp. No one was there, just the notebook and a necklace. You open the notebook again. On the inner cover, you recognize Lynn's handwriting. Slanted, delicate, but firm. Even if I didn't finish the road, I saw you go on. Thank you. You close the notebook, reach for your neck, but the necklace is gone. You forgot you left it on the ship. You look toward the horizon. Where the ship went, nothing's there, but you know something has closed, and something else is opening. You wake from a dreamless sleep, in the lingering smell of wood smoke. You feel unusually clear-headed. No haze. No confusion. It's as if everything in your mind has been neatly arranged after a long journey. Outside, the morning fog is as thick as ever. The camp is quiet, with only the wind brushing lightly against the canvas tents, making a sound like someone whispering an ancient song. You step out of your tent, looking west. The tracks where you saw the return ship are now half covered in moss. No one speaks of them anymore, not because they've forgotten, but because when something truly leaves a mark, it doesn't need to be mentioned to be remembered. You sit before the map. Some charcoal lines have smudged, but there's something about this map that keeps living. New arrows, strange symbols, no one understands but everyone accepts. A new name added last night in white chalk, the stop with no door. You don't know who wrote it, but a distinct feeling stirs in you, someone's about to leave. And sure enough, as the sun rises a bit higher, 3 people stand waiting at the camp's edge. No suitcases, no baggage, just small scraps of paper, each with their own drawing of the ship. Carr joins you. He says nothing, but you sense his agreement. No one holds anyone back. No one asks where they're going. A detail you haven't thought of in a while comes to mind. When you first boarded the ship, no one checked for a ticket. No one asked you to prove you belonged. You ask Carr if the ship requires tickets. He shakes his head and tells you about a gatekeeper he met on another route. The man didn't check tickets, didn't ask questions, but he looked at you for a long time. And if you looked away first, the door wouldn't open. You ask, what if you held his gaze? Carr says, if you're brave enough to see yourself through another's eyes, the ship will let you in. You don't respond, but his story keeps you staring at the map all afternoon. And as the fiery sunset spills over the tents, you see someone standing at the camp's entrance. A tall, thin figure in a dark, worn cloak. No one knows where he came from. No one saw him arrive. But he's there, as if he's always been, just unnoticed until now. You approach. He says nothing, but his gaze reminds you of the first time you stood before the ship's door. Not fear, but not peace either. You ask if he's the gatekeeper. He doesn't nod, doesn't shake his head, just hands you a scrap of paper. On it, a single sentence. No ticket needed. Just know where you're going. You take the paper. Small, light as a promise. He turns away, doesn't enter the camp, doesn't look at anyone, but everyone knows a door has been opened. You spend that evening by the fire. Others do too. No one speaks loudly, but the air feels like the final night of a play that's run too long. Everyone knows their role, yet still feels nervous for the ending. You ask back Mayor if he knows who the gatekeeper is. He laughs, says it's not a person. It's a moment, a point in everyone's life, when they realize they're no longer who they were. You nod, not sure you fully understand. But his words stay with you. The next morning, you go to the empty field, north of the camp. A new stretch of track has been uncovered beneath tangled grass. Someone's trimmed the bushes to make a straight path toward the sun. You don't know when the ship will come, but you feel something familiar in the air. A small shift, like a door opening far away. You sit, open your notebook, and write the last line on an unfinished page. I don't know where I'm going, but I know why I need to go. As you close the notebook, someone sits beside you. It's Ting. She carries nothing, just a new drawing. It shows a ship with no engine, just cars linked together, floating through a band of white clouds. No wheels, no tracks. You ask where the ship's going. She says, to a place where maps aren't needed. You smile, and you know you might not return to the camp. As afternoon comes, you stand and follow the new track. Ka walks beside you. A few others do too. No one calls this a goodbye, but everyone knows it's a final turn. You thank the camp by leaving your memory notebook on the shelf. Inside, and you add a scrap of paper. Those who need to read will read. Those who need to go will go. The ship arrives as the sun touches the horizon. No sound, no lights, but everyone recognizes it. The gatekeeper stands at the first car's door. He doesn't look at each person, just at you. You step forward. Don't stop. And for the first time, you don't feel like you're leaving something behind. You're stepping into the part of yourself you haven't yet lived. You stand on the ship, but it doesn't feel like leaving. No sound of wheels, no wind whipping the doors, just a silent motion, as if the air itself is carrying you. Car sits beside you, eyes half closed. One hand lightly grips the edge of his seat. Others are scattered through the cars. No one speaks, but the silence isn't heavy. It's like the space between deep breaths, where people only feel, no longer needing words. You look out the window. Outside, ribbons of light twist and coil, like memories stretched thin. You see the camp again. Lynn. Bác Mễ. Bing. The maps. The message boards. Not in order. Not bound by time. They glide past like glass panes reflecting parts of you. Then the ship stops. No one opens the door. But you know you need to step out. Outside, there's no platform. Just a pale. Endless expanse of sand. No wind blows. No smell. You step down. It feels like walking on a memory just erased. You look around. No path. But you're not panicked. In the distance, a small house. Low roof. A wooden door slightly ajar. You walk to it. The house is empty. On the table, an unwritten notebook. Beside it, a pen. You sit and begin to write. Not your story, but the story of whoever comes next. No places named, no names given. Just fragments of feeling. You don't know where the writing leads, because there's no time. Ha enters, carrying a cup of water. He sets it beside you and sits across. Doesn't ask what you're writing. Doesn't need to know. After a while, you close the notebook. Place it on the table. No lock. No hiding. You leave the house. Outside, the gatekeeper waits. But this time, not at the ship's door. He hands you a blank scrap of paper. No words. But you understand. Nothing more needs to be written. You ask if this is the end. The gatekeeper replies, "No, this is where the ship doesn't go. But people still arrive." You turn back. The ship is gone. Only sand, and the sound of your breathing. Car stands beside you, holding the map. It's faded, but the final line remains. An arrow pointing forward. No name. No destination. You and Car begin to walk. No rush. No goal. Just footsteps. And the absence of questions. You no longer need to know who you are. Only that you're walking. Now, you've reached a place no ship carries anyone to. No whistle sounds. No passengers wait. No car doors. No stations. Just a gentle void, where all noise has been left behind. You set the notebook down. No need to mark the page. Whoever comes next will start where they choose. No one begins at the same line. No one needs to read in order. Out there, the moon rises slowly. No one speaks. Nothing left to remember. Old footsteps are now sand. Old worries are now wind. You sit on a small stone. Feel your body begin to dissolve into the air. Like a story fully told. No need for more. No need for explanations. Each sentence has its own breath. Each image its own sleep. You close your eyes. Tomorrow may not come. But right now, you don't need to know. You just breathe lightly. Let memories recede. Soft as waves sliding over sand. No need to answer. No need to name. Just sleep. Sleep. End of the script. Good night.